Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P. Joe P. Zapia, and today we got a PPR draft for you. Ooh-wee! It's going to be a fun one with our listeners, our Fantasy Pros fanatics, if you will, from our Discord channel. Also, drafting today, the Raging Cajun himself, Derek Brown, the muscle man from Massachusetts wearing his cutoff. Look at this. His cutoff Bill Belichick. He doesn't need sleeves. He doesn't need a second-round pick. He's Andrew Erickson. And our good friend, the Jersey boy, straight from L.A., though, because that's where he lives now, because he's a big deal at NFL Network. Laquon Jones. Laquon, it seems like just yesterday, you and I were sitting having drinks and dinner together before you moved, and now look at you. You had to take a break from Pilates class just to do this show today. That's how L.A. you are now.
Chill. Nah, I'm still Jersey.
Bury that man.
Yeah, he says that. There's going to be downward facing dog somewhere on round 7 because his back is tight. But Laquon, working over at NFL Network now for a couple years, you're doing amazing work over there on the fantasy side of things, on the research side of things. What's it like being on the inside, and have you gotten to meet Roger Goodell yet? I think that's the big question.
I haven't met Roger yet. I mean, that would be a great opportunity, man. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't swing by the office. It's a big office. It's a beautiful place, but it's been great, man.
He knows that fantasy is the reason why people watch football, right?
Yeah. I agree, but I want to say, yeah.
Well, Roger, you heard it. We threw the invitation out there. You're welcome to come here. You're welcome to go hang out with Laquon in the office. Say hello, maybe bring some snacks. That'd be nice. We've got a great show for you today. We're bringing the heat. We've got some fun folks joining us. I mentioned Chris is at the 1 here. Piggy is at 2. Debro at the 3 spot. DVR, who is always a challenge in these drafts, at 104. We got Grim at 105. I'm in the middle, the man in the middle, 106, and hosting the show. Don't ask me how that's going to go. It's going to be interesting. Thorby, Laquon is at the 8 spot, and then back-to-back there with Andrew Erickson at 109. Bavis, then Bunting, and then Father is at the end there, Father Blake. So I can only assume a religious man who will be drafting with us. So we'll see if God is on his side or if Fantasy Pros tools are on his side. And they could be on your side. All you have to do, that's the greatest transition I've ever made, all you have to do is drop your comments below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll be entered to win a free upgraded version of our draft kit. That's right. The draft kit is available right now, fantasypros.com/kit, but we're giving away the upgraded free version to somebody who just drops a comment below here. So choose your comments wisely, folks. And again, subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications too, so you know if you're the big winner and when a new piece of content drops here on the channel. So, gentlemen, I know you started your Scott Fishbowl drafts too. It feels like this is that time of year where we really kick things off. Laquon, I don't know how many mocks you've been doing already. I assume you've had your fair share already. This is a PPR, 3 wide receivers, 1 QB, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a flex. We got 6 bench spots. You chose your spot, Laquon, at the 8 spot. Was that because you just wanted to be near Andrew Erickson, or did you have a theory behind that?
I've been liking that spot in a couple of mocks that I've had in the past. I'm trying to see what type of builds I can get there. I mean, I can possibly get a Bijan. I could possibly get a Breece Hall. Like, it depends, because I'm really kind of not too familiar about some of these other builds of going like wide receiver and wide receiver again. So I'm going to be doing some different things today.
All right. Well, Debro, I assume you and I are going to be fighting over the 0 RB strategy today, perhaps. That could be fun. Perhaps. Maybe a hero RB. I don't know. We'll see how the day goes. CMC goes 1 overall. Not too shocking there, even the PPR. We'll see what Piggy does. Debro, what are you looking to do here in the 3rd spot?
Really, right now, if Jamar Chase falls to me, he's my number 1 overall player, my wide receiver 1 this year. If he falls to me, then I will happily snatch him up, and that's what. There we go, baby.
There you go.
Love
CeeDee Lamb
goes. That's exactly why I wanted the 103.
You got Jamar Chase.
Nice.
Now I wanted the 106 because I'm very happy with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now I'm hoping he makes it to me. We'll see. Tyreek Hill's still on the board for DVR. Grim on the board next here, so we'll see what goes on there. Andrew, I know you're a little cold because you don't have sleeves on here in the show today. When you are at 109, what is your thought process there? Are you BPA, or are you taking best wide receiver available, or are you hoping one of the bigger running backs makes it to you?
I'm hoping one of the bigger running backs make it to me. I don't like the 109 slot, which is why I picked it, because I want to practice picking in slots that I may not prefer, because sometimes you don't get the chance to pick where you're actually going to be picking in the first round. So I tried to step out of my comfort zone because I usually want to just draft in a place where I know I can guarantee Bijan, Chase, or Breece Hall. But at the 109, that's not a guarantee.
There you go. You can pick your friends, you can pick your draft spot, but you can't pick your friend's draft spot. That's what we have here right now. Jamar Chase goes at 103, then Tyreek Hill at 104, Bijan Robinson at 105. I took Amon-Ra, the most underrated, underappreciated guy in fantasy. That's right, I said it. He's got another huge season. By the way, I just did a betting show, and he is at like 1250 for the prop. It's absurd. Over smash it, 1250 and a half. Just saying. Go follow the Betting Pros channel. Anyway, let's move on here. Thorpe after me takes Justin Jefferson. Imagine Justin Jefferson at 7 this year. Unbelievable. Breece Hall to Laquon right before you. You stuck the knife right in the front for Andrew Erickson. That's why I'm glad you're here today, Laquon.
I called it. I called it earlier. I wanted to run by. I'm running back into the big three.
All right. So let's break down that big three for you. Do you have a hierarchy where it's CMC and then everybody else, or do the 400 plus touches last season combined scare you a little bit from CMC as the top guy?
Well, CMC is the top guy. It's really a toss-up between Breece Hall and Bijan for me. I mean, you end up with either or. You're looking good and looking pretty in that first round with the max workload type of touchdown upside guy. I think Bijan will be utilized a lot more in the red zone than last season with Zach Robinson as the offensive coordinator, understanding how to execute a scoring offense. No shots at Arthur Smith, but I'm just saying.
It's okay. You can take shots at Arthur Smith if you want.
Oh, this is a anti-Arthur Smith show? Okay, good. Because I was on one before. Nah.
Well, believe me, the pile is tall. Andrew, you pivoted, so Breece Hall went right before you. So who did you select at 109?
A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't love the pick there because I wanted to get one of the top running backs, but for me, A.J. Brown is the best wide receiver available on the board. So that's what I'm going with.
Why isn't Jahmyr Gibbs in that conversation for you? A guy who had a terrific second half, catches the football, had 10 rushing touchdowns. Like, he gave you everything you possibly want. Why is Jahmyr Gibbs not good enough to take there and then maybe take a London or somebody like that on the way back in 2?
Because I like A.J. Brown way more than I like those other receivers. And I always know that when in doubt, there's going to be running back value somewhere else.
There you go. So after A.J. Brown at 109, Puka Nacua at 110, Bunting at 111, Father Blake, bless his heart, Jahmyr Gibbs at 112, and Drake London at the turn of 2. Then Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley go back-to-back. So again, nobody wants to let Erickson have a running back. I like the theme of today's show. Don't give Andrew what he wants. So Andrew, you went wide receiver again, this time with Brandon Ayuk. Do you believe that Ayuk will settle on something with the 49ers or end up packing his bags and going elsewhere?
I think that he'll be a 49er. I don't know if Deebo Samuel will be a 49er, though. So for me, again, I think that Brandon Ayuk is still on the ascension. I think that he still has yet to show us what he can really do. And last year, he saw around 100 targets and was still super efficient. And if the red zone usage works in his favor, Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey, guys that have been banged up in the past, George Kittle, if any of these guys goes down, I think Ayuk is going to be a top 10 wide receiver. So that's where I have him ranked, and I feel good pushing the button on him in round 2.
The button has been pushed. And of course, if you want to push some buttons, you should go over to fantasypros.com/mock and start mocking today, or just download Draft Wizard. That's probably easier. Just go to your device and download Draft Wizard. Start your mock drafts right now. Laquon, you took Devonte Adams at 205. Any concerns with the tread on the tires for Devonte Adams, or the fact that he's going to play with Gardner Minshew most likely this year?
Not really, man. He's one of those guys that we can kind of label as like QB proof, man. But if you look at the early beginning of the season, the first 8 weeks, it was probably ugly. He was a top 20, wide receiver. And then you have Jacoby Myers looking like a top 15 wide receiver. But how he finished the season is more so what I'm looking at. I mean, you look at those last 7 to 8 games, man, he was scoring majority of his touchdowns in the back end of that season with Aiden O'Connell. So therefore, if it's Gardner Minshew, if it's Aiden O'Connell, he's still going to have that target share where it's going to be a high percentage, and he's going to be able to produce in that red zone to get some touchdowns on the board. I mean, looking at him as a wide receiver 7 in those last 8 games. So I'll go ahead and take somewhat of the discount on Devonte Adams this year.
I love how this mock is going so far because Travis Etienne went at 206, and then I got to take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 207. This is exactly the start that I wanted. If I'm the man in the middle, I want Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I want some guys to make mistakes and let Marvin Harrison make it back to me. And they did. And I think the projections are too low on Marvin Harrison. Far too low right now. 89 receptions, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. I think that's the baseline. Andrew Erickson, you wrote up the expert note here. I'm looking here at Fantasy Pros. Don't you think there's a possibility where we go, I don't know, as Derek likes to say, nuclear or actually he says nuclear. I think he has that extra U sometimes to it.
Tomato.
I think that projection is pretty good. 1,200 yards, 100 catches for a rookie receiver, like 7 touchdowns.
I'm going 100,
it's pretty
1350, and 10. Marvin Harrison Jr. breaks the wheel here.
I love that.
Michael Pittman at 208. Well, Laquon, all the targets are going to him. I mean, Trey McBride's there. He's great. But Marvin Harrison,
don't forget about Greg Dortch. You know, I'm a Dortch guy.
I know you're a Greg Dortch guy. You do love the Dortch. Debro loves the Dortch too. He won't admit it. Michael Pittman at 208, Chris Olave at 209. Then Debro takes my other guy at 210, Nico Collins, Josh Allen, Jalen Waddle, and round 2. Mike Evans begins round 3, DJ Moore, and Devon Achane. Look at you, early RB, Derek Brown. Hurts goes next. Let's talk about your selections, Derek, of Nico Collins. And then, rolling the dice with Achane. Let's talk about it.
I love the wide receivers that are at second round right now. Like taking the shots on Nico and a bunch of the other guys that if Nico can separate himself from Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs and just be the guy, we're talking about wide receiver 1 type of upside, like top 5 type of upside. Like his efficiency numbers were right next to Brandon Ayuk as far as like and Tyreek Hill being one of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL. I think Houston is going to get a big spike in passing volume this year, and I think it's going to benefit Nico. And really going back to the running back right here, like I was kind of like, okay, well, if Nico falls to me, I'll take him in the second round. Then I'll look at running back in the third. I could have gone with any one of Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, or Devon Achane right there. I wanted to go with Achane just shooting total upside. Like there are concerns about Kyren. There are concerns about Derrick Henry, depending age and injuries and stuff with both of those guys. Achane, you could say the same thing, but dude, if he gets that goal line roll this year, we're talking about like top 3, top 2 upside. Like he could be that guy who was the RB5 last year. So I want to take a swing on Achane in this mock.
Debro, ask me if I have any or what my concerns are about Derrick Henry. Ask me real quick.
Do you have any, Joey? Any? Just a little bit?
None. 0. I've got no concerns about Derrick Henry. That's why I took him next year after you took Devon Achane, all your upside. You can have your upside. I want the guy who's going to be punishing people at the goal line and basically running amok all over the place. He's going to run for 1,400 yards this year again because he's on a good team finally again, which is great. I know he's older. That's okay. Us old guys get the job done. So Hurts goes at 304, Kyren Williams at 305, and I took Derrick Henry at 306. DK Metcalf goes next at 307. Cooper Kupp to Laquon. Now, I know you're a Rams guy, so you're the perfect guy to talk about this because we had a conversation the other day, Laquon, about Cooper Kupp as your third wide receiver and a big wide receiver build. Man, you got to love that upside. As your number 2, that is the question is, do you believe that he can stay healthy enough to return that value? Because your number 2 guy, it's got to be a little bit more consistent and present, more importantly.
Yeah, I'm believing in what I saw when this team came back fully healthy in week 12, man. You had Matthew Stafford, Kyren Williams, all guys that were banged up throughout the season. But when they came back healthy, we were the most dangerous team going into the playoffs because you're looking at
Erickson, yeah, just because you're in LA doesn't mean you work for the Rams.
Hey, I work right next to the SoFi, so I could say we. But no, looking at this team healthy now, you're going into this offseason as healthy as you could be. You know, I look at this team, man, and you have to understand who is Matthew Stafford going to target on these third downs? Who is Matthew Stafford going to rely on for the big plays downfield? Yes, Puka Nacua is a guy that has an amazing future, a bright future ahead of him. But when it comes down to the actual calculation of how this offense is going to be driven, it's going to be driven through Cooper Kupp because he's still the most lethal route runner. He's still one of the guys that Matthew Stafford can rely on when it comes to pure hands. So therefore, I'm going to go what I know, which has been a fact, that Cooper Kupp is the best player on our team.
Okay. They're going to call you Homer. I'm telling you, right? It's going to happen right now.
I was a Homer when he finished top 5. So there we go.
There you go. I love it. All right. You took a wide receiver too. Andrew Erickson. Devonta Smith goes next to you at 309. Then Travis Kelce at 310. Debo Samuel at 311. And then Isaiah Pacheco goes next here to start the 4th round. Christian Kirk ahead of Stephon Diggs. That's fun. And then James Cook goes to Bavis, and then followed by Rashad White, which is a great value. So, Erickson, you've got Brown, Ayuk, Devonta Smith. Interesting here. We don't want to talk about taking 2 Eagles wide receivers. You got to hope that some days you're going to get both. Most days you're going to get maybe one. But Rashad White at 404, I think, is a great value. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I talked about when I drafted A.J. Brown in the first round. I wasn't necessarily And you didn't have to draft a running back at that point because I felt I could get running back value later. And I think that Rachaad White, I know they drafted Bucky Irving, but I think that Rachaad White still has a top 10 fantasy ceiling in him again, just like he showed last year. So that's why I think in round 4, he can be my hero RB, and I can punt off running back, look for more running back value later in the 8th, 9th round while I continue to look at some of these onesie positions while also adding in more wide receivers.
Now, Sam Laporta made it all the way to 405. Laquon, let's talk about that because you made that selection. I thought he was going to make it to me, and I'd have a hard decision to make there, but you snatched him up there ahead of time. This was the tight end one last year. Do you think he can repeat that performance in year 2?
Somewhat. I think he could still be in that top 3 conversation, maybe top 2. I feel like, the target share is there for him, and he's a guy that, is going to be able to build off of the season that he just had now. There's kind of an understanding that he could be that number 2, target for Jared Goff, and Jared Goff has always needed those security blankets, and that's kind of what Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta are. They're the 1-2 security blanket for him. So targets are going to be there. You just hope that, he could find the end zone more than he did the season previously, but that's definitely on the table for him with not much of a target competition. Like, I'm not one of those guys that believe in Jameson Williams to be anything but what he is, a jet sweep guy and 1-2 trick pony down the field. But when you look at actual volume, I'm going to go for guys that have the actual volume. So I'm not looking for a tight end in those 9th, 10 rounds.
Yeah, I like the value at tight end. I have a feeling about this draft, though, especially who I'm drafting with. I see Debro waiting there. I know there's a couple tight ends he likes, so I'm going to go ahead and take the one that I like right out from under him, which is Trey McBride. So there you go. I have all the Cardinals. Erickson has all the Eagles. That's okay.
We like birds of prey. What's wrong with that?
There you go. Birds of prey. And we're having fun here. And if you like to have fun, don't just do mock drafts and play fantasy. Maybe step into the world of wagering a little bit with the DraftKings Sportsbook. Baseball, golf, UFC, soccer has been going on here. I know Laquon is watching the game right now at the same time as we're doing this draft. There's something for everyone and every fan over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I know it's football season around the corner, and there's a lot of opportunities. We've already been talking about some of those lines and some of those values. So take advantage of it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros. New customers get 150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's get to some more picks here and see where we're going around because it made it back to me already. I'm going to have to pause this bad boy a second. Recap. Amari Cooper goes at 406. I took Trey McBride at 407. Debro, did that hurt your feelings?
That's smart of Joey. Just felt like I got uppercut in a very sensitive area.
There you go. That's all I needed to hear.
It's not fun.
Malik Neighbors at 408. Josh Jacobs at 409. Let me pause this. I thought I paused it there. Malik Neighbors at 409. Josh Jacobs after that. And then Joe Mixon to Derek Brown. Alvin Kamara at 411. Zay Flowers at 412. Making the turn at 5. Patrick Mahomes off the board. He is the, is that the second or the third QB off the board here? Second one. Oh, no, third. I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts did go. Keenan Allen goes next at 502. Debro, you took my guy right out from under me. I thought I could be fancy and get Terry McLaurin on the way back. I took your guy. You took mine. I assume after the show we'll talk trade. Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin. So you've got 2 RBs here, Debro. So this is a little different strategy we saw last time. But I love McLaurin here. Let's talk about Mixon as your RB2. A steady Eddie, really to back up Achane. Was that your thought process there? And then Terry McLaurin, what's his upside in 2024?
Yeah, took the upside swing with Achane, and now we know what we're getting out of Joe Mixon. He's going to get all the volume he could possibly handle. Houston was a top 12 run blocking offensive line down the back half of last year. Joe Mixon is my RB7 right now. So to get him at this point in the draft, I'm loving it, man. And then to back it up with Terry McLaurin, who, as my wide receiver 3, I love drafting Terry McLaurin this year. I'm with you, Joey. Like, this is the best quarterback play he's going to enjoy his entire career, man. Like, we're not far removed from Terry McLaurin being a yearly wide receiver 2. He could revisit that, man. It's wheels up with Jaden Daniels this year.
All right. I am looking right now to make my selection, and I am looking at the pick insights, and I got a value pick thumbs up here. Thanks, Draft Wizard. Okay, I appreciate you. Lamar Jackson goes to me here. 6 quarterbacks off the board, so I wanted to get in here where I thought the value was right. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, after McLaurin, T. Higgins at 504, then Anthony Richardson goes next to Grimm. I like the aggressiveness of the Grimm there. I took Lamar at 506. I'm happy to do that in this run. 3 quarterbacks in round 5. Ken Walker at 507, Aaron Jones at 508 to Laquon Jones. So Laquon, Aaron Jones, all the Joneses in one spot. Here's my question for you, Laquon. This is a guy who has been an RB1 every year, and everybody wrote him off. Last year, injuries. Or are we writing Aaron Jones off too soon in 2024 again?
I have my concerns. I actually don't like this pick, to be honest. But
then why'd you make it? You were allowed
to let him talk it out.
I didn't like the rest of the running backs there. I don't like Stevenson in this, offense with Alex Van Pelt as the offensive coordinator. I mean, he's not going to see as many targets as he wants. And then James Conner has the same concerns with me with Aaron Jones. So it's like I kind of wanted to lock up that running back. So I'm not searching for running backs in the later rounds. Like I want to be done with my running backs by the 7th round, to be honest. So it is what it is. But hopefully he can. Hopefully he can keep on the momentum he had the last 4 games of the season where he had 100 yards per game. So hopefully we can bring that over to Minnesota.
Definitely a strong finish. Definitely a strong playoff. I don't have to ask Andrew Erickson. He likes his next pick because I know he does. He loves it. Mark Andrews at 509. Let's talk about it, Andrew.
He's my number 1 ranked tight end because he's shown the highest or the closest thing to a Travis Kelce level ceiling of the fantasy tight end 1. Sam Laporta was tight end 1 last year. That wasn't even close to Andrews' best season in the NFL. So I think Andrews, again, points per game last year, he was right at the top before his injury last year. So why can't he just run it back? He's healthy. We saw him playing the playoff game, so he's good to go. So I love Mark Andrews as tight end 1, getting him in the 5th round. I think it's a steal.
Okay, a steal perhaps. We shall see. George Pickens goes next at 5'10", then Ramondre Stevenson. CJ Stroud at the turn with Tank Dell. Nice little pairing there. D-Bro, what do you think about that? Stroud and Tank Dell, a little bit of a value stack, I would think. Tank Dell, D-Bro, give me your take on him with Diggs now in there, and you've already got Nico Collins on your roster, so we know you think highly of him. So where does Tank Dell fit in?
I think Tank Dell is going to be the wide receiver 2 on this team. I think he's going to be fighting Nico Collins weekly. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be the underneath possession guy, the wide receiver 3 for this team. So if I'm drafting Houston Texans, and I'm drafting a ton of them, it's Nico, it's Joe Mixon, and it's Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs, you can just miss me with him.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Fighting words.
Jeez, Erickson, somebody.
Did we get the shovel so you can dig out Diggs, his grave? Is that what we're doing here?
Oh, damn.
He's done a good enough job digging his own grave the last 2 seasons.
I knew that.
So,
all right, let's keep going here. After Tank Dell, Kyler Murray goes, so I guess I can't get all the Cardinals. Chris Godwin next. I was hoping he would make it to me. He did not.
Same.
Then Erickson, you took a running back here, James Conner, at 604.
I wanted Chris Godwin.
We all did.
And those that were watching saw me absolutely devastated when he came off the board. So that was unfortunate. But I had to take another Cardinal, so Joey P couldn't get them all. I like James Conner. I think that the reports out of camp so far have been James Conner is the guy. And it's not going to be Trey Benson until next year. So till the wheels totally fall off James Conner, which could happen week 10, week 11, whatever. It's a redraft league. I'll figure out running back later on. But when I'm ranking my week 1 running backs, James Conner is going to be a top 12 running back based on the usage he gets in this offense when he's healthy. So feel great about him to start the year.
Yeah, and look, and Trey Benson is a cheaper handcuff, maybe one of the better ones too. Would you agree, Andrew, in terms of like cost efficiency and talent, where you're looking later in the draft? If you do want to look at handcuffing, maybe Benson's one of the better guys.
I think so. Yeah, because with James Conner, we know what he does. He's really productive, but he runs like a bulldozer and embraces contact, and that doesn't necessarily help him stay healthy for a 17-game season, which he probably won't. But I'm not worried about that when I'm setting my redraft team for week 1. James Conner's locked and loaded, and I would be surprised if Trey Benson really even plays at all coming week 1.
All right, Laquon, Andrew didn't get Godwin. You didn't get Godwin. So what was the pivot at 605?
So I ended up going with Deontay Johnson just based on the volume there. I mean, the biggest problem for Bryce Young was guys separating last year. And we already know Deontay Johnson was co-signed by Devonte Adams to be one of the most crispiest route runners out there. So if this guy's going to get open, especially on quick passes with Bryce Young, I see Deontay Johnson finding the end zone more times than he's actually did, back in Pittsburgh with the Kenny Pitts and the Mitch Trubisky's and et cetera. So we're looking for this offense to be moving forward, move the chains downfield. They have Jonathan Brooks at running back. So I really feel as though this is going to be a completely different offense that Carolina displayed last year.
All right. I know my next pick's going to get a reach, but I don't care. In the meantime, at 607, I get Zamir White. Just like, I love it when a plan comes together. This is great. Henry and White. This is my opus. This is what I always wanted. Rashee Rice goes in between at 606. Then Dalton Kincaid at 608. Derek Brown, not happy. David Montgomery at 609. Joe Burrow at 610. Then DeAndre Swift, Calvin Ridley close out the 6th round. Round 7, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. So Derek Brown did get a tight end after all. It's my dude, Kyle Pitts. Finally with a quarterback. I love all this. You're getting McLaurin with a quarterback. You're getting Kyle Pitts. All this talent who have been just kind of, I don't know, pushed aside, unfortunately, because of the years of maybe not reaching all the expectations of that talent based on quarterback play. But now they have it, and you took a quarterback too. Let's talk about Burrow. Let's talk about Pitts, D-Bro.
I love Burrow this year. I mean, can we honestly say this might be the healthiest offseason he's had, or the closest thing he's had to a normal offseason throughout his entire NFL career? We know Cincinnati is going to throw the ever-living crap out of the ball. They were 3rd in neutral passing rate last year when Joe Burrow was healthy. I'm not in on Chase Brown or Zach Moss. I'm happily avoiding them in drafts and going other directions. So I'm all in on this passing attack. I mean, T. Higgins is back. The drafting of Jermaine Burton, I think they're going to air the ball out. So I love Joe Burrow. I think he's got still top 3, top 5 upside as long as the volume is there, and I think it's definitely going to be. And you got to love the pick insights from the draft wizard, because it told me 4 teams before I got my next pick did not have tight ends. So I was like, do I play this game of trying to push it out and see if I can get Kyle Pitts in my next pick? I was like, the wizard told me, so I went with Kyle Pitts there.
Always listen to the wizard. That's just a smart thing to do. Javonte Williams goes next at 704, and then DeAndre Hopkins at 705. I did go for a reach a little bit, but I'm reaching for the guys that I want when we get to round 7. And Christian Watson is one that I want. We've talked about this on the show plenty of times. As soon as I was just waiting for D-Bro to make his pick, hoping he would take a tight end. He did. He took Pitts. I was very happy about that because I knew he'd tell the truth. You'd be the guy I'd have to get.
I was going to pick Watson with my next pick.
I knew it.
It was happening. Didn't care that he was in the hundreds. Don't care at all.
Don't care at all. I'll reach all day long. We'll see what the grade says later on. After that, Thorb took Dak Prescott, Raheem Mostert to Laquon Jones. Before we get to Laquan's take on Raheem Mostert, because I think that's one that we really want to hear, what do we think of this Miami backfield? Let's get a new voice in there. But also, if you're looking for a new place to play your fantasy leagues, Fantrax's free NFL Fantasy Football League Manager is the most customizable, easy to use, and feature-rich platform in the industry. You can create or join a fantasy football commissioner league, invite your friends, and dominate your leagues this draft season. Go deep with the ultimate keeper and dynasty leagues. Create a simple redraft league or a customizable best ball league. That's right, up to 2,000 teams, and D-Bro will own about, 1,970 of them. Fantrax is also the only platform that offers season-long college football fantasy as well. So you can check that out, draft your favorite college football players from your favorite schools, and enjoy fantasy football every Saturday and Sunday. Coming from another service, that's okay, because Fantrax can import any of the current leagues you have and customize them as you like. There's a reason why fantasy players who want to go ahead and get something new, they try Fantrax, and then they make it their permanent home for all their leagues. So sign up for free today and be entered to win a signed CeeDee Lamb jersey just for signing up over at fantrax.com/fantasypros. Again, sign up today at fantrax.com/fantasypros. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. Laquan, you gave a home to Raheem Mostert. A lot of people are out on Mostert. We all don't think he can live up to last year, but has the hate gone too far?
Absolutely. I mean, you have Mike McDaniels in press conferences and mini camp saying he's going to be the lead running back. He's going to get work. He's going to be the workhorse. Basically, what he's shown last year, that he's able to handle it. And he's a guy that's probably not going to see 21 touchdowns again. There will be regression there, but even if there is regression, I'm still putting him in double-digit touchdowns, the way that this offense is a high-power offense, a lot of scoring opportunities, and he also has receiving opportunities as well. 2 touchdowns as a reception out there, and Miami is top 3 as teams that target their running backs in the red zone. So I'm looking at Raheem Mostert as a dual threat, a guy that could be used outside in the passing game in the red zone so he could score there, and a guy that's going to get in between the tackles. So when you're looking at this team, man, I understand Devon Achant's the highlight reel. He's the guy that jumps off the paper, in efficiency and stuff like that, but he'll be deployed and utilized in times where they need that big play, in times where they need to get upfield. When we're looking at the red zone, I think that's where Raheem Mostert lives and breathes. So I'm going for the touchdowns. You give him to me in the 8th round, okay, sure, let's do it.
All right, Hollywood Brown goes to Erickson next at 709, then Jaden Reed at 710, JSN at 711. Jordan Addison ends the 7th round. To begin the 8th round, Tony Pollard, then Lad McConkey. Boo, Bunting. How dare you take my guy from me? Jordan Love goes next, and then Jaden Daniels. So let's talk about your picks. Erickson, Hollywood Brown, Jaden Daniels. How do you feel about these 2 selections?
Hollywood Brown is a bet on some early season production. Rashee Rice, maybe he's suspended at the beginning of the year. We don't really know. We haven't heard any updated information on it. But for right now, it looks like Hollywood Brown could have a sizable role to start the year. So I'm hoping that I can use him while Rice is serving suspension. We saw at the beginning of I think it was 2 seasons ago with the Arizona Cardinals, Marquise Brown was really productive before he got injured again. So I don't love him season long necessarily for him to be a stalwart in this offense for 17 weeks. But for some early season production where I got him, I feel good about him as my wide receiver 4.
Brian Robinson Jr. goes next. D-Bro, you can't have him this time. Actually, I was going to take him if I like drafted ahead of Derrick here, and this is really fun. I could really torture
like
him.
this.
Instead,
like
Laquon, you did it to him. You took Brian Robinson, so you now have a running back room that's pretty deep in this PPR. You've got Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Adams, and you've got Hall, Aaron Jones, Mostert, and Robinson. You've got some depth here. How do you feel about this running back room you've created?
I like it, man. It's kind of like if Aaron Jones ends up, taking a crap with his hamstrings again, then I could just swap in Raheem Mostert or Brian Robinson Jr., whatever the case may be. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is going to have a breakout season this year with Cliff Kingsbury, knowing how to utilize his running backs. I mean, you look at Kenyon Drake when he first got there. This dude was averaging 15 fantasy points per game. And then you look at James Conner, the first year in the system. That's where we really noticed that James Conner can actually handle a workload if you use him efficiently, and he's getting touchdowns and he's getting targets. So I think this can be in Brian Robinson's bag this year to be a breakout, being that we know he can catch targets. We know he's a downhill runner. We know he could get in between the tackles in that red zone and score touchdowns. So I'm absolutely excited about this Washington Commanders offense.
All right. After you take Brian Robinson Jr., Brian Thomas Jr. goes at 806. Cortland Sutton at 807. Rome Odunze. Oh, wait, I took Cortland Sutton. Let's talk about that. Look, 4th wide receiver. Do I love Bo Nix? Absolutely not. Cortland Sutton's still going to catch enough balls to be a wide receiver 4 on this team. Yeah, I'm fine with this. I feel good about this, especially with Watson and the chronic hamstring issues. I'm hoping we figured it out. It seems like they're going in a good place. That's important. Rome Odunze goes next at 808. Again, the 3rd guy on that depth chart, I don't like as much as the 1st guy on Denver. So that's why I made the choice between those 2 guys. Tyler Lockett goes to DVR at 809. Then Jonathan Brooks to Derrick Brown. Xavier Worthy goes next at 811. Why do I keep saying 11? I just like the number 11. 811, Xavier Worthy. 812, Evan Ingram. And then Josh Palmer begins the 9th round. Tajay Spears goes next at 9-2. So, D-Bro, building out your running back room. I knew you were going to get Jonathan Brooks. That's not surprising there. And then Devin Singletary next at 903. So, you've got 4 RBs on this roster, D-Bro. Who are you, and what have you done with Derrick Brown?
I wanted to go for a balanced build, and just looking at how my queue is set up, Rome Odunze is the guy that I wanted there in the 8th round. And so getting sniped on him 2 picks before, good pick, Grim. That's who I wanted as the upside guy for my wide receiver 4. And then I just looked at it as like, after he was gone, I looked at it as a long tier of other wide receivers. Could I have gone Xavier Worthy? Sure. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to take the upside swing on Jonathan Brooks, and I'm going to take the volume of Devin Singletary and just go BPA. I looked at both those running backs were above a lot of the other wide receivers that were left on the board. You can make a case for Xavier Worthy. Sure, I could have gone that direction. But now, look, we're mocking this. If this is a real league we're playing out, you're going BPA in the drafts. You're able to trade. You're creating depth. You're able to make trades after the fact. So even though I do know this is a mock, I'm still not going to deviate too much from BPA.
All right. So Zach Moss goes next at 904, then Jerome Ford 905. I took Eckler at 906 just as a value as a 3rd RB. He'll be a flex guy some weeks, or mostly just a guy to fill in on bye weeks, which is fine because he's going to last now. Remember, everybody, because he doesn't have to carry the ball 300 something times. Now everything's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Nick Chubb goes next at 907. I was tempted, but I just can't get there yet. I need a little bit more information. Maybe in a month from now, we'll have some clarity on Nick Chubb, but I'm not there yet. Laquon, you've gone a lot of running backs. Where are you going next here with your 9th round selection?
Going upside here with Curtis Samuel. He's in a system that knows how to deploy him in his best. I mean, you look at Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator for the Panthers, brought the absolute best out of his wide receivers. He had 3 of them finish as top 25, wide receivers in that year with Teddy Bridgewater at the quarterback. So you give him Josh Allen. He knows how to get Curtis Samuel creative. He's going to create these opportunities for him. So I really feel as though Curtis Samuel is an upside pick here. He could be a flex some weeks, but I'm not expecting like huge wide receiver 1 numbers from him, but I'm just going for a guy that knows how to deploy him the best that he has in his abilities.
All right. Erickson, you're up next. The selection's yours. Who are you taking?
I took Ezekiel Elliott. the Dallas Cowboys starting running back, and I'm hoping that he falls.
I almost did the same.
I hope he falls into the end zone 15 times, and I'm so glad that somebody took Nick Chubb, because my soul would not be able to survive this show if I took Ezekiel Elliott over Nick Chubb, despite the status of his knee. So
yeah. No, I feel you. Look, I almost took him myself. I feel the same way you do. He is the starting running back until something else changes, and right now that's the way it looks, and that's a value just from a touchdown perspective. He's not going to be the biggest volume guy ever at this stage in his career, and he's going to a much better offense than he was playing in last year. I can't take too much of what I saw out of Zeke last year with the Pats and try to copy and paste and say, oh, everything's just done for him.
But I think what he did show last year was he can still handle a 3-down workload. Like
when
Ramondre got hurt, he was not subbing for any other player. Like not every running back can play 89% of the snaps a given week. A lot of running backs can't do it. Zeke, he still has power. He doesn't have juice, but he's got power. So that's something.
There you go. That's something, boy. Gus Edwards goes next at 9-10, then Chase Brown at 9-11. Brock Bowers and George Kittle. Oh, look at Father doubling up on the tight ends. I was going to take Kittle when it came back to me just to piss off Welsh from the last show we did. Well, look, I think when you're getting there towards the end, D-Bro, like you want the best players on your team. You never know what's going to happen with injuries. If you already have a tight end you like, but George Kittle lasted way too long, so did Brock Bowers, why not take those guys and look at them as these guys have upside for 1,000 yards receiving and they have upside for a bunch of touchdowns. You could play a tight end in your flex if it's an elite tight end, right, Derek?
Yep, agreed. I love that move by Father Blake. That was really savvy. Like taking the upside swing on both of those guys, because again, you're playing out this mock. If this was a real league, okay, Bowers stands up. He is the guy, and he's a top 10 option on a weekly basis. Well, you're just going to trade George Kittle for a running back or a wide receiver.
I agree. It's a great move, and I hate that he did it because I was going to do it next. After that, Jacoby Myers goes at 10:02. Another guy out of my queue, Zach Charbonnet. Blake Corum to Andrew Erickson. Let's talk about it.
I just think that he has a ton of upside if something happens to Kyren Williams. Right now, we're filling out our bench. I have my starting roster good to go. I have James Conner, have Rachaad White. Those are my two running backs I'm going to ride till the wheels fall off. So if Blake Corum gets an opportunity, I'm not going to be bearish about his ranking if Kyren Williams goes down. What would happen? Where would he be ranked in the ECR in a week where, okay, it looks like he's going to get the starting job? He's going to be a top 10 running back, despite even if he hasn't shown it at the NFL level yet.
Agreed. David Njoku at 10:05 to Laquon. So Laquon, you already had Sam Laporta, but you saw what Father did and you went, hey, that sounds good. Give me another shot. But here's the real question. Can Njoku repeat last year's performance with Flacco without Joe Flacco?
That will have to hope and pray that Deshaun Watson takes the step forward, and hopefully that David Njoku's in those plans to at least be the 2 or 3 target in that offense. Because when you look at him, he's still that big body red zone target. So therefore, I look at him as having touchdown upside. I have Laporta as my safe number one, a guy that has a healthy target share, that has the ability to find the end zone. I'm kind of taking the shot on David Njoku, being a Jersey guy. Hopefully he can come up, show up, and show out, man. That's what we about.
Jaleel McLaughlin next at 10:06, and then I took Trey Benson at 10:07. I heard LaDainian Tomlinson have a long conversation with my friend Brian Drake the other day about which rookie running back stood out the most to him. I think when LT starts talking about a guy that you thought would be very good, you should all listen. That's what I think. All right, so Benson goes next here. Then Jameson Williams, Mike Williams, Rashid Shaheed to Derek Brown. Brandon Cooks goes next, and then Kendre Miller at 10:12. Marshawn Lloyd at 11:01, and then Jake Ferguson, Derek Brown again with Trevor Lawrence. So you got a second QB here. Let's talk about that real quick, and let's talk about Rashid Shaheed as well, D-Bro.
Well, looking at how the roster is kind of built, I mean, a lot of the top guys in my queue were running backs at this point, but Chris kind of kiboshed those plans, double tagging Kendre Miller and Marshawn Lloyd at the turn, so that hurt. But we're looking at Rashid Shaheed. I'm high on him. He pops in a bunch of efficiency metrics. Now you have a Saints passing attack, which Shaheed could be the number 2 guy in that offense right behind Chris Olave. He could be 100 to 120 targets this year. I don't think that's crazy considering how consolidated it is. Plus, if you add in targets are going away, or at least like with Juwan Johnson being hurt probably to start the year, it's going to be even more consolidated to start off. So I like Shaheed at this point in the draft. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, look, it just at this point of the draft, taking a swing on a quarterback when I feel like we're getting to the point of the draft where you can take swings on RB2s, RB3s, or, well, should I say RB3s or handcuffs or wide receivers you like. I felt like, okay, this long tier of guys, I can go back to that well. I feel good about my wide receiver and running back rooms right now. Got an elite tight end, so why not just take the quarterback right now and get rid of it?
Fair enough there. When you look after that selection that you made of Trevor Lawrence, Dallas Goedert goes 11:04, Keon Coleman at 11:05. Now it's back to me looking at the board right now. The question is, how do I want to hurt Andrew Erickson? Do I want to take the other guy on the Dallas Cowboys backfield, Rico Dowdle, or do I want to take the guy that I think he really wants, which is J.K. Dobbins? So I'm going to head and do that too. Take another running back.
Ooh.
The wide receiver value is just not there. So I'm going to go ahead and take J.K. Dobbins. Erickson's talked at length about. Is it really Gus Edwards at the end of the day? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Erickson at this point. He's made some good arguments that it's not. Thorpe is up next. Laquon, what are you looking for at this point in the draft?
Just depth, man. I mean, I'm looking at my roster. I like how it's building right now. So I'm going to take another guy that I'm really excited about going into this next season, Jahan Dotson, man. I think he honestly needed that quarterback. He needed that quarterback upgraded, man. I mean, you look at the last 2 seasons, him and Terry McLaurin are at bottom of the table of catchable targets. So it's like now you get somebody like Jaden Daniels, you get somebody like Cliff Kingsbury that can bring the best out of his quarterback and his wide receivers. I'm going to take the upside on Jahan Dotson. I mean, his rookie year, he had 7 touchdowns. Let's not forget that he's still a red zone target to be a threat. So I'm going to go ahead and see with Jahan Dotson, another Jersey guy, by the way.
All the Jersey guys today.
All the Jersey guys.
I'm with you on Dotson too. He's a fascinating one. I mean,
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels can collectively, possibly really raise the bar of the Washington Commanders' collective fantasy value in a huge way that we haven't seen. I don't know, ever? I don't know. Is ever too much?
Kirk Cousins, baby.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin
Since
III
RG3,
era.
yeah.
Kirk was dealing to Jordan Reed, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garcon.
Oh
Pierre
my
Garcon.
God.
Jameson
Pierre Garcon's
Crowder's
still in the
best
league
days
somewhere,
were
isn't he?
as a commander.
I mean, wide receivers eat under Kirk Cousins, so I believe
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's why I love those Atlanta guys so much.
Y'all just created a great Drake London narrative, and you didn't even realize it.
Oh, I think we did. Rico Dowdle goes to Erickson at 11:09, then Romeo Dobbs, followed by Dalton Schultz at 11:11. At the turn here, we'll see what happens. Erickson, you took Rico Dowdle, so you own collectively the Dallas Cowboys backfield. How does that feel?
Well, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott scored more red zone touchdowns last year on the Patriots than Tony Pollard did. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah, it's very depressing. Very sad. Very sad. But it happened.
So sad.
I'm going to need a minute here to recuperate from that. Romeo Dobbs, we mentioned, then Schultz, then Downs. Brock Purdy starts off 12:01. Roshan Johnson at 12:02. So, Erickson, when it comes back to you with 12:04, what are you hoping makes it to you?
I'm hoping one of my remaining sleepers from a YouTube short that I posted earlier this week, I hope he's still available. And he is. So I'm going to take him. Wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Dontavian Wicks.
Let's go. I'm on that boat too.
Dontavian Wicks.
Only the best fantasy analysts are on Dontavian Wicks.
Y'all going to be so sad when he's wide receiver 4 all year, playing 30% of the snaps.
Dude, there you go.
I'll just cut him, man. He's my wide receiver 5.
Man.
Oh my God, it's off the rails.
Oh, good. Well, he could stay on the bench, just like in Green Bay.
You went ahead and took a quarterback, Jared Goff. Let's discuss what you think that upside is for him this year.
I got Laporta, man, and I'm actually not a Jared Goff hater, being that I'm a Rams fan. I mean, Jared Goof, I used to call him, but, I feel like he's fitting right, with the Lions offense, and I honestly like the ceiling that he has in most weeks when they're playing indoors or a home game. So I feel like, Jared Goff has some upside to be a top 10 quarterback, man. That's all I'm looking for in these rounds.
I would agree with that. Jared Goff, I just took him in my Scott Fishbowl there. So he's
a house cat. Indoors, he's good.
Or cat, yeah. By the way, talk to your friend Adam Rank, because I used to call him that about 4 or 5 years ago, and then I heard Adam talking about it. You just let Adam know. At least just put the respect on the name. You know this, I know this.
Let's do it.
I'm going to see Adam at a wrestling show sooner than later. He might hit me with a chair, though.
Hey, send that invite, man. We got to talk catch-up wrestling, but that's another pod.
We do. Fun pay-per-view this weekend, or premium live event is now it's called. Hawkinson goes right before me. I was going to do that just to have some fun, but instead I'm going to be boring and take Adam Thielen, who's 100 years old. But who knows? At this point, I think I'm just going to put faith in the head coach. I've seen what Canales can do in successive years, running offenses there with Geno Smith and then Baker Mayfield, and now maybe Bryce Young, maybe. So I know Deontay Johnson's the new toy there, but Adam Thielen showed that he still had something left in the tank. Another Carolina Panther goes next here with the Grim selecting Chuba Hubbard, then Antonio Gibson. Derek Brown, you're on the clock at 12:10.
Well, I'm going to pull a page out of the Erickson book here. I'm going to invest in really talented offenses. I've already done it with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Why not Jermaine Burton? I've made this call way back when on our bold call episode. I said Joe Burrow is going to support 3 top 36 wide receivers. I've been there. I'm still there. Jermaine Burton's really stinking good at football.
Really stinking good at football. There you go. You can't get analysis like that anywhere else, folks. That's why you come here. I'm mad now. Look, this is look at this. Ty Chandler goes, but then Pop Douglas goes to Chris. I knew it was too good to be true. I should have just selected him when I did. It was going to give me another reach alert, but whatever. Darnell Mooney at 1301, then Luke Musgrave at 1302. Debro, back to you at 1303.
I'm going to take Gabe Davis. I know at this juncture of his career, we kind of know who Gabe Davis is. But on this team, where I have him on my team, all I'm looking for is one of those Gabe Davis, like upside, win you the week type of runouts. That's really all you need out of Gabe Davis. If he's your wide receiver 4 or 5, you're playing him in your flex, he pops off for one of those monster weeks, he's winning you the week. That's all I need him for.
Fair enough. All right. So after Gabe Davis, Hunter Henry, Jerry Jeudy, I took Caleb Williams. Have some fun there. The way I'm structured, I need a fun quarterback if Lamar goes down, and Caleb Williams, he's that fun guy. I wish Jared Goff was still there, but unfortunately he was not. I thought boring Jared Goff would still be around. I was wrong. And it's Caleb Williams or Kirk Cousins. I decided to take Williams and just kind of, second quarterback. Let's have a little fun at the end of the day. But I'm still mad about that, Laquon. You took Jared Goff by
4,000. You think he cracks 4,000 Bears?
No, I don't. And neither does Vegas too. They set him at 34.50 and a half. I think that's the number I saw for him.
Over.
See, I don't know. I mean, I'm really curious to see how he reacts to the environment. October, November, December in Chicago is different than Southern California. Laquon knows this because he's from Jersey. And now he's in Southern California. He does not miss the winter here. I can tell you that.
I'm not coming back. I'm sorry.
Never.
I'll come back for you for a wrestling show, but I'm not coming back to live.
You're fine. All right. After Keaton Mitchell goes, then you have Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants going to Laquon Jones. Tua goes to Erickson. Tyler Algier goes next. Let's get back to you here for your selection. Talk to me about Robinson.
So I just like watching him, man, and I hope that he stays healthy, man. I mean, he led them in receptions last year, so obviously he's a guy that can be relied on, and you just hope that Daniel Jones can stay healthy. And I'm not expecting huge things out of this Giants offense, but I'm just expecting him to get peppered and a lot of creative opportunities around him. Use him close to the line of scrimmage, he can create after that. He's a yak guy, so I'm going to go ahead and just build the depth there at the wide receiver with playmakers.
All right, Erickson, you took a QB, so Algier, then Wright, then Shakir goes at 13-12, Xavier Legette, then Wilson from Arizona goes next, Herbert goes after that. Back to you, Erickson, for another selection, so you can talk about Tua and the next guy you pick.
Let's make it back-to-back Herberts. Khalil Herbert.
Oh, all the Herberts.
who I bet at this point is going to get traded to Dallas, and then I will
Only because you got sniped on Roshan.
Roshan
wasn't there.
Dallas Cowboys running backs when Khalil Herbert gets traded to Dallas in August. So
I think that is the funniest thing we've ever done on a draft, that you're anticipating a trade so that you have all the Cowboys running backs. So here's the question. Erickson, which one do you start?
Ask me in week 1. And then I'm going to read the primer.
Great answer.
I'm going to read Debro's primer, and then I'll make my decision.
Okay, good answer there. All right, so the draft is concluded here. Draft Wizard likes me today. Gave me an A, 93 out of 100. But how does that stack up next to the rest of the boys? We shall see when we look at the projected standings. I am number 2. Piggy won the draft. Pigbird Jet fan, one of our OGs in our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. You can join for free. Super fun. When you're a part of it, you get to do cool things like this and do mock drafts with us all the time. Debro, right behind me there. Oh, so close. You just missed it. You're in the 3rd spot. DVR at 4, one of the tougher drafters. Laquon, a nice showing at 6. And then Andrew Erickson, you're down at 8. Do you think, Andrew, that's because you took too many potential Cowboys running backs?
I think so. But I was going a little bit more off the board, a little non-traditional again. Now that I'm a married man, it's a little bit different how I mock draft. So, yeah, this is a little bit different for me. So that's why I got the worst grade.
Here you go. See what happens? It's all downhill. We told you.
Yeah.
Didn't believe us.
I didn't listen. I didn't listen.
You didn't listen at the end of the day. Laquon, let's talk about your draft here. You got a good grade. You're right there in the thick of things at the top 6. What was your draft grade and the expert insights? Obviously, after the mocks are over, Fantasy Pro software, you can go click on the expert opinions, see, the rankers that like your draft, didn't like your draft. You can look at the steals, the reaches, the pick analysis, the strengths, the weaknesses, all of the above. So anybody in particular really like your draft, or how did you feel about this?
I got a B-. Like, I feel good about my draft, man. And I feel like my favorite pick of the draft was my very last pick was D'Onta Foreman. I mean, we got to put respect on this dude's name. This dude produces every time he gets opportunity. Chicago obviously didn't understand how to utilize him. So I feel like D'Onta Foreman is going to surprise a lot of people early in the season until Nick Chubb is ready to come back as Superman. But overall, I like this draft, man. Hopefully I can get this in my home league, but we'll see.
It was a perfect time for everybody who wants to get that free draft kit. Again, leave your comments below. Who do you think won the draft of the four of us, or just of our folks here too? Which roster do you like the most? I'm going to run through Laquon's here. Jared Goff at quarterback, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, then Devonte Adams, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, really strong there. Sam Laporta, it's a good team. Laquon, Brian Robinson Jr. at the flex. Then Njoku on the bench with Mostert, Samuel, who I agree with you could have some upside, Sok and Dotson, Wan'Dale Robinson, and then D'Onta Foreman closing things out. So a pretty strong roster there. So if you are Team Laquon, drop your comments in the chat. Let's go to the married man for a second. Jaden Daniels, Rashad White, James Conner, A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith. Nice wide receiver core there. All the Eagles, all the Cowboys. A lot of NFC East games for Andrew Erickson with this team. Mark Andrews, great spot at tight end. Then Hollywood Brown, Tua, Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum, Khalil Herbert, Dontavian Wicks. I think the Wizard was a little hard on you, just a little bit, Erickson. Did you agree? What did the expert opinions say?
They weren't great. I did sneak in. I did sneak in as liking my draft, but I only gave myself a B+. So even AI Andrew knew that this wasn't a typical Andrew Erickson fantasy mock draft. So that's what
Speaking
happened.
of artificial intelligence, Derek Brown, let's talk to you about your draft. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Devon Achane, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin. That's sexy, D. That is a sexy wide receiver core right there.
Love it.
Kyle Pitts at the tight end spot. Then Devin Singletary. Man, you love Devin Singletary. I hope so.
I do.
I got to share him in my Dynasty league. That's really important that it's just like hanging on there. And you keep talking about it. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hold on to
RB2 you can draft this year.
I don't even have to draft him. He's my RB4 on that
team.
Well,
you can't trade him, so no one's going to want him.
Okay, I'll enjoy all the points, baby. I hear he's going to play in Jersey. Speaking on the Jersey shout-outs.
Erickson heard a rumor he's going to play for Dallas at some point, so who knows? He might want him. Trevor Lawrence, Jonathan Brooks, Rashid Shaheed, Gabe Davis, Jermaine Burton, Kamani Vidal, Debro. These are your guys. These are very Debro guys. But I got to say, man, the upside here of this team with Chase, Achane, Burrow, and Nico, not to mention Kyle Pitts and McLaurin. I love this team. So,
and Vidal. Don't forget Vidal.
Yeah.
Love
so, Debro, let's break it down. Who else liked it besides you?
Well, I gave myself a 97, so we have to start from there. But a lot of people, man. Matthew Hill, who's been one of the best rankers in the industry, gave me a 92. Jody Smith gave me a 93. So, I'm only sad that while I did get an A-, I'm just sad I didn't take it down. But I've got to give props to Pig Bird. Sharp drafter, always in our Discord. So shout out to Pig Bird, although I do hate when I'm in mocks because he's always sniping me.
Oh, look, our mock draft people, forget the bots.
Sharp.
Come do drafts in our Discord, in our mock draft channel with these people. That will get you ready. And also, the Fantasy Pros product, people still are learning this. That draft intel feature where it will analyze your draft that's been going on, for a few years with the same league mates, how they draft, and create bots that you could draft against, like the actual people and their tendencies in your draft. I mean, there's nothing like the Fantasy Pro software. Use it. I got a 93 out of 100, good enough for second place, but that's okay. I'll let one of our listeners win today. And I also hosted and did reads, and I still got more than you, Derek Brown. I still got a higher grade. Let's go. From the middle, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Look, I have all the touchdowns. No one else is going to score a touchdown in Baltimore except those two guys, pretty much. Zamir White as my second RB, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marvin Harrison Jr., Christian Watson, Trey McBride, Cortland Sutton, Caleb Williams on my bench with Austin Eckler, Benson, J.K. Dobbins, Adam Thielen, and Ray Davis. Debro, thoughts on this roster? What did you think about it?
It's a nice team, Joey. I mean, I hate to say nice things about your drafts. I really like it. It pains me. I'm gonna have to go take a shower after this. I just feel dirty after saying that. But
Wow.
I mean, you've got a mix of upside, volume, elite quarterback. Like the only spot I could I'm having a hard time dinging you here, Joey. I mean, I think Christian Watson as your wide receiver 3 is just money.
I gotta say, this is a team I would definitely go to war with. But we want to hear from you. Whose draft did you like the most out of the 4 of us? Did you like somebody else's more? Drop your comments below and you can win a free draft kit. Again, subscribe to the Fantasy Pros channel. Ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications so you know every time a piece of content drops here. And go get the draft kit that's free at fantasypros.com right now because the basic version is pretty spectacular. But of course, you can always upgrade by going premium. Sync your leagues. Use the draft software. Do all of it. Be smart like Laquon Jones is smart. Unfortunately, he always makes a bad choice spending extra time with us. I hope you had fun, Laquon. And I know you've got a second half of the Copa game to watch pretty soon here. So I'm going to let you go. Laquon, once again, tell everybody what you're working on, where they can find you over at the fancy NFL studios nowadays.
Well, you guys can find me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. It's Tumblr, MySpace, I'm there, Facebook, shout me out, whatever the case may be. But obviously at NFL Fantasy, you can find us twice a week on the podcast at Apple Music, Spotify. Then you can catch us on YouTube for Thursday for the cheat sheet. And also I'm doing content over there at Rotoballer where I'm dropping content every single week. So check them out on YouTube as well.
Hardest working man in show business. Erickson, you cold? You want a blanket there? It's sleeveless for the whole draft? Next draft, will you have sleeves? Do you think it was the lack of sleeves that hurt you in this draft today?
It may have been, but if a mock draft is on a Tuesday, it's Tank Tuesday. You know, you got to go no sleeves. That's the way that works. So the next non-Tuesday,
Taco Tuesday, I like it.
Taco Tuesdays after this, it'd be great. Can't wait.
Tanks and tacos. That's what we do around here. We'll be back with more here on Fantasy Pros. Again, subscribe wherever you get your pods. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel too. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for Debro, Erickson, and Laquon Jones. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.